Welcome to the USF 2000 AI League Season 4 here at Race Free from Barber Motorsports Park. We're currently underway from qualifying. Got a couple cars already out on track. There's your track map so you can see where they are. So, we are now up to 25 entries. We have two new entries. I don't know if we can see them right now. No, neither of them have spawned. Barber Motorsports Park, a very hilly, flowing road course, not a whole bunch of really tight turns, but there are still some pretty slow turns, good passing opportunities. We have an incident over at turn 5. Spring roll has gone off. But now he is back on track right in front of Karishima. Currently Max Cold, the only driver to have set a lap so far, Beijing Beef, right behind. But I don't think that's a true lap. I think that was just an out lap. So a new driver, currently riding on board with. This is Diogo Sebastio. I don't really know how to completely pronounce the name. I know the person that made the car is probably watching, so if you want to tell me, sure. And then Rogero Espinel, I think. Again, I could totally be butchering it as these are Portuguese names, so I'm not completely sure. Currently up at the top, we have Gus Fringe, but Max Cold now goes to the top with, I'd assume a real speed of 128.83. Still, we're just waiting on some guys to start qualifying as May Borowski goes first with a 128.37, as now Beijing Beef goes to P1 with a 126.49. So our points leader coming in, I did not show the points before, so I'll just show right before the race begins on how they stack up right now. But our points leader is still Tetsu. Currently has pretty clear track, but does have the two right up the road, two side by side with someone. Not quite sure who that is. That is Karishima. Sorry if my nose seems stuffed up. Chris goes to third of a 127.59. Gus Fringe shoots up to fourth as Max Cold goes second. Just been up there the whole time so far. David by Lois in seventh. Seeing if there's any movement in the top 10. May Borowski shoots up to second with about 4 minutes remaining. Currently off by about 4/10 right there. So Beijing Beef's got a pretty good cushion, but there's a lot of cars on track, a lot of traffic. But May Borowski has some pretty clean track right ahead. Still waiting on the Father, OxyClean, Missing Sock, and Spencer Alfredo, sorry. to set laps right now. OxyClean does just set one, as Eliza Doe goes 4th, Espinel goes 6th, as Spencer Alfredo goes 2nd. Started at the very tail end of the field, but is now getting held up by Missing Sock, as Springroll tops his teammate, Beijing Beef, by about 2/10, as Chris shoots up to 3rd. All 25 cars have set at least one lap, as John Panini has gone off track. As Gus Fringe goes first with a 126.30 by 100th, he is now in the lead. Maborowski goes up to 5th. Small improvements as Jacques Croissant goes 8th. As Saul Goodman goes first with a 125.91 by about 4/10, is now the leader. That is a pretty big gap, but there's still 2 minutes left for someone to try and stop him, as the father goes first, and right behind, Phil Slow goes 4th. The father, there goes Eliza Doe into 2nd. Espinel goes to 10th. Missing Sock goes 17th. I saw as Big changes up at the front, Kirishima goes first with a 125.54. A whole lot of bumping. Chris goes 4th. There's still about 90 seconds left, as Gus Fringe goes first once again with a 125.25. About 3/10 ahead of Kirishima. You can never be sad with knockout. Well, it's not knockout qualifying, but as Saul Goodman goes into 2nd, so currently the 83 and 60, both teammates, are locking out the front row. Can anyone do anything? As Sebastio goes 24th to 2nd with a 125.34. Kirishima goes 5th. There's a lot of blue right at the top. I don't think that was actually Kirishima. I think that was Silly Man who went 4th. Eliza Doe goes 5th. So a lot of blue at the front of the field, but Spencer Alfredo spoils that party as he goes 4th. As Springroll shoots back up to 1st, as points leader Tetsu goes to 1st by about 300ths. 8 seconds left. Can anyone top that? Broski goes 7th. He'll get one more lap, I'm pretty sure, but he'll be the last driver to finish, as Gus Fringe will finish. Not good enough to improve his time. Currently watching some people come across, people that were at the top earlier. Beijing Beef was at the top earlier. Willie tried to improve. It's not good enough for, as actually it is. It's good enough for first with a 124.98. It didn't register as for a second as Saul Goodman goes 2nd. Just a little bit off. So can anyone try and top that? Phil Slow gets close. That would be, I think, a 3rd time starting on the front row if he can stay there. It's not first, but it's still the front row. He can still make that work. Kirishima goes back up to 10th. As I think that is it for times that will really be able to do anything. So let's take a look at your starting lineup. We got Beijing Beef on the front row with a 124.989. Phil Slow will be right next to him. As then we got Saul Goodman and championship leader Tetsu Tetsu in fourth. And then Spring Roll and Gus Fringe in row 3. Row 4, Eliza Doe and Diogo Sebastio. Sebastio in his first start this season. OxyClean and Karishima are back there in row 5. Spencer Alfredo and Chad Broski occupy row 6. Row 7 is Wine Silliman and Missing Sock. Row 8 is Jack Croissant and The Sun. As row 9 is The Father and last race winner Chris, who's also currently second in the championship. So a lot of work to be done there to try and get back up to the front. Then row 10 is David Lois and John Panini. We saw them up there in qualifying earlier, but it didn't end how they wanted it. Then Max Cold, and also making his first start is Rogero Espinel. And then back in row 12, we have Sussex Amogus and May Borowski. Then rounding out the field is Mahavir Raghunathan. So 20 cars were within a second. Max Cold, Espinel, Amogus, Borowski, and Raghunathan were off by at least a second, so it's going to be a pretty competitive race, especially up at the front. We saw how many times it changed during the course of qualifying. So we're going to have to see how that plays out in the race. Your championship standings. Right there, Tetsu currently leads by 12 points, but this championship is far from over. Anything can happen. We see Chris, who is starting all the way back in 18th. Beijing Beef, who is on the pole. So that's going to be very good for him. OxyClean is starting in 9th, so could be better, but could be a lot worse. Max Cold, however, starting all the way back in 21st. Then you have Croissant, Alfredo, Bialois, Fringe, Panini, The Sun, Goodman, Doe, Sock, not Borowski, Broski, The Father, Silliman, Amogus, and on your second page down here, Karishima, Borowski, Spring Roll, Phil Slow, and Mahavir Raghunathan. So Phil Slow gonna try and rebound as now we take a look at your team standings. The Silly Snorters, that's Chris's team. It's a single car team. So starting all the way back in 18th, there's a lot of work to be done there. The Flat Earthers are in second. That is the 9 and the 4. Then you have Team YouTube, the Laundry Boys, the Graveyard, Los Polos Hermanos, Spring Speed, La Vitesse, the Italian Mob, okay, the Magenta Saucies, BFL Racing, Team RAS, and Raghunathan Racing. So your weather popping up on the side. It's 7 miles per hour. This is going to be a mid-afternoon race. 72 degrees, so pretty warm. About 50% humidity, partly cloudy. And then track temp, however, is just under 100 degrees, which is pretty cool for a track, I would say. So the cars are about to roll off, and we're gonna go around for one pace lap, and then the pace car will pull off, and we'll be underway. Your starting grid, once again scrolling across the top, so you can take a look at that just before the race starts. Engine starting to rev up. pace car is now just rolling away. All the cars come to life. And they're going to do 28 laps around Barber Motorsports Park here in Birmingham, Alabama. So if I had to take a pick on who's going to win, I'm going to go for the 60. I just feel like definitely has the speed. It's almost an identical car to the one that last season's champion Jack Daniels had. So I believe that that car definitely has the speed to win. However, this is going to be a more competitive season with 25 cars versus UAL4's max of 17. Going down around the museum section, a very technical part of this track. I would not try and make any passes down there. That's more of just a tricky section, but you wouldn't want to try and pass. Back when I used to race in the series in season 1 and 2, I tried making a pass going into the museum section, and it did not go very well. Also, look at all the cars. Many different colors, wide array of colors. Right at the front you have like a brown and a purple. So, yeah. I know that doesn't really seem like much, but I don't really care. So now coming around the back half of the course, coming up towards pit road, this kind of area is like a multi-apex spot in the track. It's kind of reminds me of Turkey Turn 8. As here we go, pace car pulls off, going around the final turn. Beijing Beef gets a huge jump right at the start. Everyone else kind of struggling behind. But he's not going to have that much of a lead going into turn 1. Phil Slow trying to keep up. Tetsu moves into third just at the start. Down towards the tight turn 5, very slow. We have some action back here. Side by side for teammates. In the 60 and the 83, the 83 just going to back off as the 60 now trying to attack the 9. But how's that going to work going into the museum section? The 60 is going to have to back off on that one. All the cars charging down towards the chicane on the backstretch. Now around the back half of the course you see the Spider, a staple of Barber Motorsports Park. .60 still under fire from his teammate, but a good passing opportunities down here on the front stretch. The 83 is going to try and go for it, but he is definitely not close enough. But the 60 may try and make a dive bomb on the 9, but just not close enough right there. Phil Slow trying to keep up with Beijing Beef up at the front, but to no avail. .83 is now under fire from the 15. Just to show you how spread apart the field is, this is a very good passing opportunity down here. Seems as though the track map does not want to load. Bill Slow now has closed back in on Beijing Beef, just within this one lap. But Tetsu's closing in third. That's the gray car, third in line. Down onto the front stretch, gotta get a good exit on this turn as we go towards turn 1. Heading around the long, sweeping first turns as there goes the track map. As the 18 has gone off. That is a big collision. What has happened here? Seems like there must have been contact, I think, from OxyClean, and that sent him around hard into the wall in the first turn. Let's see if we can get another camera angle. Yeah, it was battling OxyClean, and I think OxyClean just went wide and knocked him off, as that will end his day, which was his first start to the season. Now towards the back stretch, we got 3 cars all lined up. The 07 under pressure from the 9. He's going to try and go wide. He's just going to stuff it in there, hope it works, and it does. It almost worked. We've got very close, but Bill Slow got the better exit out of turn 17. As now we head back down through the carousel, long sweeping turn, or turns, labeled as turn 2 and 3. And then you got the exit in turn 4, which is a little kink that leads down into turn 5. Only one casualty in this race, at least as of now. Everyone else just trying to get comfortable. The top group kind of split apart. As you see back here, we got a little traffic jam behind Spring Roll. Gus Fringe trying to look for a passing opportunity. It's not there. Gonna have to hold on and wait. It's up at the front. Saul Goodman closing in on Tetsu. Biggest mover since the start. May Borowski up 5 spots. Started back in 24th, now up to 19th. But Espinel's gonna try and pass, who's gone up 2 spots since the start, but to no avail into turn 1. Barber is well, a lot of these road courses are just kind of waiting games. You kind of just have to hold on for a lap just to get towards a good passing opportunity. Like, I think the best passing opportunities at this track is turn 1 and turn 5. So we have a car off track and flipping, even despawning. What has happened here? That's a massive... Oh, tried to go through the museum section. And just wheel to... Oh, wow, that is a very violent flip. Let's take another look at it. So coming down, seems like right here, the father was just trying to hit the apex and then but had to slow down. But Sasa Samogas didn't really leave too much room for himself as he goes flipping over and over and out of the race. So, 2 flips just in this one race. One in the museum section, which I said right before the race was not a good passing opportunity. It's a big drop in elevation with 3 apexes. So it's really hard to go side by side. Still slow, trying to hold off Tetsu still about 8 tenths up. Tetsu also having to try and keep watch over Saul Goodman, who's not too far back. So now, after that incident between the Father and Sasasamogus, the biggest mover is David Lois, up to 13th, started 19th, up 6 spots. Biggest loser besides the cars that have crashed is the Father, down 4 spots, trying to get around Espinel. You can see some scratches on the side of the car from the damage. As Phil Slow now gonna have to try and hold off Tetsu as Phil Slow goes wide on the exit, but up to speed just quick enough and down into the chicane is not really a good passing opportunity. But Tetsu's gonna try and shove it through the chicane. Well, kind of like, I don't really know how to describe it. It's kind of like a chicane, but also not really. But it's a big, quick drop in elevation to a steep rise in elevation. Phil Slow still under pressure. Tetsu gonna try and dive it in through turn 1. Still does not work as he had to back off, and now Saul Goodman going around the outside of Tetsu for 3rd and makes it work. Now Tetsu is gonna have to worry about spring roll right behind. We have another off-track car, May Borowski, must have spun in the carousel, falls all the way down to 23rd after having to make up a lot of positions. The 60 still chasing the 07. As we have another spinner from Sebastio going way off track in turn 5. May have not been a spin, may have been a lockup. Phil Slow not really gaining on the leader, but not really falling behind either, just kind of staying at 2 seconds. For some reason the tower is being weird and it's like double layering. So 20 laps to go as Phil Slow still trying to carve down that lead as Tetsu almost tried to go around the outside of Saul Goodman in turn 5. Now down through 7 through 9. think Tetsu Tetsu and Beijing Beef are gonna have a pretty good battle for the top spot in this championship. As because Tetsu Tetsu currently sitting in 4th, while Beijing Beef in the lead. Beijing Beef, reminding you, could have won at Homestead, but to some weird unknown issue, I still don't really know what happened. He is now just trying to make up the deficit coming into this race 3rd in the championship, as we have another spin from Sussus Amogus, binned it in the wall. What has happened here? Must have been exiting the pits. Oh, just tried to exit the pits to... Could the car not turn? Not really quite sure, but he is stuck in the carousel. Not really affecting the leaders as of now, but he's gonna fall another lap down from the car in front. So, down to just over a second lead, as now dips under a second. The gap between Beijing Beef and Phil Slow, reminding you Saul Goodman's right there. And also reminding you, pit stops could happen. At Imola, it was a 22-lap race. We saw pit stops around, I think it was like lap, I'd want to say 15. So if I had to calculate, I'd say we'd have pit stops around lap 16, which would be about 12 to go, which that seems about right. I think it was just over probably about 2/3 through Imola, 2/3 or 3/4. I'm not gonna do that quick math right now. Let's see what the sector times are between Beijing Beef and Phil Slow. The first sector was better for Phil Slow, but the last 2 sectors have been a little bit of a drop-off. But this 4th sector is what we saw Phil Slow really close in on and capitalize on, so I think this 4th sector could be really good. Yeah, basically covered the deficit. The gain was larger than the deficit, which means that he did close in on him on that lap. See what he does this lap, about a 10th off in the 1st sector. What about the 2nd sector? The Sussus Amogus goes back to pit road. Also not really better for Phil Slow. He's gonna have to hustle it on this 3rd sector. As I think this 3rd sector was pretty good. I think that's actually the combined between that is better than the first 2 sectors, and he's been pretty better on this final sector, but turn 16 he lost a lot of time on this lap, so I think this lap's gonna be a bit of a drop-off. Yeah, just a little bit of a slower lap. So if we go through the top 10 right now, we would see Beijing Beef, then Phil Slow, Saul Goodman, followed by Tetsu Tetsu, Spring Roll, Gus Fringe, Eliza Doe, OxyClean, Kirishima, and then Chad Broski. So we have another car going off track. This is the Sun going around in the carousel, struggling to get back going. I think he's beached. What happened here? Oh, it's just had pressure from the 42, went wide, maybe from a lockup, and then spun around and is now beached in the gravel. Because I think he's came back on track, but during that time when we were cutting away at the replay, Phil Slow has managed to catch up. Gonna try and go the long way around as Beijing Beef is trying to cover on that inside. Not the preferred lane. As the bottom of our timing tower is not really working quite right. But Phil Slow gonna try and play some catch up even more to the 99. He's right there. So it can be done. Just gonna need some work. Two tenths down to a quarter of a second. As Spring Roll has passed Tetsu for fourth, going through turn 16. So now Tetsu's gonna have to try and hold on to that top 5. But back at the front, Phil Slow just trying to stay behind Beijing Beef. He's got to follow through this first sector to try and pass as Tetsu has gone off track. He has gone wide at the carousel and has come to a stop. What has happened here? Just went wide trying to catch the 2. Not quite sure what happened there. But back up to the front, that is some major championship implications for the 9. So we've got a freeway race for the top. After this group, it's about 5 seconds, or 4.5 seconds, to the cars behind. Tetsu comes back out on track, but is all the way down in 20th right now. So that's going to be some major championship problems as Saul Goodman trying to size up a pass on Phil Slow. Phil Slow trying to hold on as Beijing Beef's now starting to get away again. Pit stops can happen at any moment now. As a big lockup from Saul Goodman didn't really help trying to pass. But now they're going to draw about even. Coming down towards the museum section, one of them's going to have to back out. Which one is that going to be? That's going to be Phil Slow as Saul Goodman takes second as Tetsu has had another off. I think those tires are pretty much cooked. He'll drop even more positions down out of the top 20 now. The 60's got a big deficit to try and catch. But 99, down by about 2 seconds. Second and third bordered by 2 teammates. Beijing Beef leading the race in spring roll, and fourth, a pair of teammates for spring speed. We still have a lot of race left as we are just over the halfway point. But Goodman's got some work to do. Biggest mover, still David Bialois, sitting pretty in 12th. Doesn't really have a lot of traffic ahead of him and doesn't really have a car behind to give him pressure. Biggest loser is Tetsu down 17 spots. Currently back in 21st. So there's still work to be done. As now Espinel has also gained 7 spots. I didn't notice this, but in his first start, he's already gaining the most spots. Or at least tied for having gained the most spots. So a lot of good work right there. That team, it's definitely not impossible to win the championship, as after this race there's still like 22 races to go. I'm filming a race every single week, so there's still definitely time, as the sun has gone off again, but this time in the museum section, as the 60 has closed into the 99. We got a battle for the win right here. Saul Goodman chasing down Beijing Beef. Through the museum section, still a very ballsy move that he put on Phil Slow. And it somehow worked. We saw that did not work earlier in the race when Sussus Amogus was launched. Sussus Amogus is 5 laps down now. Saul Goodman very slow coming through the back half of the course. Lost a lot of time right there. But we still got to think about when are the pit stops going to start happening. It's V87 and before, side by side down the front stretch. Kirishima just ahead. OxyClean gonna have to try and go the long way around to keep his position, but he'll not be able to hold on. OxyClean sent the 18 upside down earlier in the race. After a move through turn 1, went a little wide and basically hip checked the 18. But he's still been doing well despite that incident. But now he's going to have to try and defend from Chad Broski. He's not really having the greatest start to the season, but it could be going a lot worse. Currently in the spots for a top 10 finish. As the 60 has now worked his way back up to the 99, gonna have to follow through the carousel to get him at the hairpin in turn 5. Very good right now, as we have an incident at the back. The 0 has gone around. What has happened here? As also Mahavir Ragunafin's gone around. Chris trying to pass David by Lois. Goes wide. That is another big championship implication. Big hit as well. The 17 has gone around in the museum section. Just a simple lockup had the pressure on him. Not really competing for a win there anyways, but Chris now falls down to 20th. As now Espinel is the biggest mover, up 8 spots. Here we go. Saul Goodman gonna try and pass him now. He ain't waiting. He had an opportunity, so he tried to go for it. Around the outside, but that's into the grass. The 60 is around. He goes into the wall. As, oh, he's crashed on pit road. That is definitely going to end his day, as Phil Slow is now into the spot to try and take the lead. Now the 0 stuck in pit road. After the big incident hitting the wall, got a lot of damage. As Phil Slow has managed to pass Beijing Beef. I accidentally turned it off, didn't realize. But Phil Slow has now cleared the 99 for the lead with 8 to go, and we still have pit stops left to do. But the 99 gonna try and fight back through the carousel. Gonna have to wait. Now the 07 up by about half a second with 7 laps to go. My math on the pit stops was definitely off, but it can change per race depending on if the track has a lot of slow parts, a lot of fast sections. Barber is very flowing and doesn't have too many tight turns, as the pit stops are actually happening right now. Let's switch over to the ticker. A lot of cars coming in at the same time. We see the 07 coming in and the 99. Trying to see if there's a good camera of pit road. I think this is gonna have to do. But we are waiting to see who's gonna have the better pit stop. It doesn't look like a lot of action's happening right now. But Phil Slow has a great pit stop with an 8.6. Beijing Beef only has a 9.8. Almost every single car went into pit road at the same time. There wasn't really a lot of strategy. Just everyone's trying to work the same strategy. As now the 83 trying to get the 99 for second. With about 6 laps to go, Phil Slow's now in a good position to try and win. We got a battle for second right here. The 83 trying to basically get back after his teammate crashed, trying to get the team back into a good spot as the 60 dropped all the way down to 24th. As Eliza Doe is right there in 4th after getting by Spring Roll through the pit stops. Beijing Beef now has drove away, but the 15 right there behind, we got a little bit of a stack up for the final spot on the podium. A good battle down towards the museum section. Again, you don't really want to pass here. They're just still trying to keep up with each other, all forming a big line. It's a little bit back to the 7th place car. As there goes the 2 trying to send it on the, actually the 5th. Who's passing who? Oh yeah, the 2's passing the 15, sorry, I forgot. As now the 15 is back down to 5th. Biggest mover is still the new driver, Espinel. But now the 4 is trying to pass the 15 right up here, but the 15 holds on for trying to do the crossover, but it doesn't quite work. But the biggest mover, Espinel, up 9 spots since the start. Started 21st, now up to 13. 42 closing in behind. The 99 still trying to close in to the 07. All the sectors on that lap are green except for the last one. Still the green cancels out the orange. As now the 4 and the 15 are battling right up here, going for 5th for a final spot in the top 5. The 4 still chasing the 15. As now the 87 has caught up. We're talking about how he was a couple seconds off from the car in front. But just like that, he has caught up with about 3 laps to go as the 99 of Beijing Beef has closed in to Phil Slow. Phil Slow just trying to hold on, getting his team their second ever win in UAL. The first win for the team was Spencer Alfredo, who has came back this season, currently running in the last spot in the top 10. He was the last winner for the team, and the only winner as of now. He won race 2 at Sebring of season 2. But there's still a lot of time left, and Phil Slow could still make a mistake. Phil Slow came into this race 22nd in points after getting wrecked at Homestead and then making an early mistake that he wasn't ever able to recover from at Imola. As now he is starting to pull away from Beijing Beef once again, up to about 2 seconds. "20 cars on the lead lap, but there is lap traffic up ahead. Mahavir Gunafin is right up there as we are on the final lap. Phil Slow's got to take us around one more time. He just can't make a mistake at this point because Beijing Beef is a little while back to really cause something to go wrong. Meanwhile, OxyClean is 6th, got by Kirishima, who's now down into 7th. Around turn 5 for the final time, which is really the greatest passing opportunity, so now it's a little bit more of smooth sailing through these final few turns. Down through the fast kink. A lot of the trouble spots are already behind him, but you can still mess up at any turn very easily, but he doesn't really have the pressure behind him. Phil Slow trying to earn the second win for the team as he has caught up to lap traffic right before the line, but Phil Slow gets it done here at Barber. Only the second win for that team ever in UAL4, but it'll definitely be a very loved win. Beijing Beef just finishes second, not really where he needs to be. Well, it is where he needs to be, just he'd like to finish first, but he is definitely gonna close in on the 9 and the 0 in points. May even be the championship leader after this race as he earned 40 points. Actually probably 42 because he led the most laps at least, and he got the pole, so 43, maybe 44, and then the 83 just holds on for third place to round out your podium. Biggest mover in the race is the new driver Espinel, up 9 spots in his first start. His teammate in the 18 didn't really do as well, but a lot of airborne crashes this race, which is typically rare for especially for a track like Barber. 2 big flips between the 32 and the 18, who finished 24th and 25th. So everyone has now crossed the line as Mahavir limps across. So the 07 enters pit road. So that is going to be the second win for the team. It's definitely going to put him back up into a good points position, especially for the team, as his teammate Spencer Alfredo got 10th, which is good after this team had a very rough race at Imola last week. So now let's take a look at your final results. We see Phil Slow did get the win, 2.637 seconds was the gap. And the 83, we said, came home to third. Beijing Beef was second. Spring Roll, his teammate, was in fourth. Eliza Doe in fifth. Oxy Clean in sixth. Karishima gets seventh. Chad Broski eighth. Wine Silliman is ninth. And then Spencer Alfredo rounds out the top 10. Then David Lois, John Panini, Rajiro Espinel, Missing Sock, which I still think that's funny. The father is in 15th after he launched the 32 through the museum section. Max Cold will finish 16th. Jacques Croissant will finish 17th. May Borowski in 18th. Then we scroll all the way down from 19 to 25. We got Tetsu Mahavir Raghunathan, racing legend. The son, Chris of 60, finishes 23rd after what could have been a very strong result but got launched. Well, he didn't really get launched, but he did make some pretty heavy contact with the pit wall. And then Sebastio gets 24th, and then Susa Samogus gets 25th. That that name still kills me. I don't know why someone would choose that for a name, but oh well. I I'm not gonna do anything about it. So that is it for race 3 of UAL4. We have 22 races left. Next up is at Phoenix. Um, the first short oval of the season. That'll be next weekend, and that's it for this race.